Alright, so this is the nude palettes that I have already put away in my drawers. So we're going to go through this particular pile first. I have this Lorac Unzipped palette, which is kind of like a mauve color story. Very soft in terms of the color, but the actual shadows themselves are still in really good condition. So I think I may hang on to that one. I also have the Lorac Unzipped Gold, and this one is like a warmer color story, but I think since I have the mauve one, I'm gonna let this one go. So that's one for keeps and one for declutters. I really like this side-by-side palette. It's got a really nice big mirror, but the color story is really nice. These shimmers are all really nice, and I like that you have sort of this cool toned, like super gray cool toned moment down here. So I'm gonna hang on to this one for a while longer. And then this Nars palette, I really like this Nars palette. I had to hunt this sucker down, and I finally found it on Cult Beauty. This is really pretty, and the shimmers in here are like, shut the front door. They're so buttery and beautiful. Like, I just really like this palette, so I'm definitely going to be hanging on to that one. Let's talk about this one next. This is the Solar Flare palette from VH Cosmetics, and it's one of their baked eyeshadow palettes. I feel like I have so many other neutral palettes to hang on to that I can probably let this one go. The shades that I really loved in this one were Gamma Ray and Magnetic, but I don't think I need to keep a palette just for two colors. Like, I'd rather somebody else get some use out of it, so I'm going to let this one go. I believe that one was a gift from my auntie, so auntie, if you're watching this, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to be sharing the love. Alright, this is the Nars, I want to say this is like Hot Nights or something, yeah, Hot Nights palette. This one has this like, almost like the butter bronzers from Physicians Formula, this really like soft buttery texture. Everything is like super light and super faint, but I think it works really nicely for like when you're at the beach and you want to do sort of a no makeup kind of thing. So I'm going to hang on to this one. And then I have two of these nudes. This is the Light and the Rich. These are really pretty. I don't tend to use this one by itself because it's so light, and I tend not to do very light and mid-tone only looks, but I think this one has some really beautiful shimmers. And then this one I love. This one can even be used by itself because it's nice and deep, and I really like these two shades here. They have such a like rich color to them. They make a beautiful smoky eye, so definitely hanging on to these two. The Canyon palette from Alter Ego. So I picked these up in the hopes that I would then talk myself out of picking up the bronze palette. And I picked up another one of these, you'll see in just a little bit. I do think this is a really nice formula, but because I already have the Natasha Denona one, I don't need to keep the dupe for it, so I'm going to let this one go. So we can talk about the bronze then. Does this look familiar? Yeah, I just picked this one up, and really there's some stunning neutrals in here. It almost gives me this like sunburnt vibe that I really like, and then you've got some really pretty smoky shades here, so I'm definitely going to be hanging on to this one, and I think it'll be great for like taking to the beach and that kind of thing. Alright, Gather Round Sisters, the original Hocus Pocus palette. I really liked this one. I hate that there's a pressed glitter in it. I think I'll probably take that out and put something else in it, in its place, so that I don't have any pressed glitters, because I feel like when I know there's a pressed glitter in a palette, I tend not to use it as often. But I do really like this. I love the movie. I can't wait for the sequel. I hope they don't screw it up. I will riot. Keep. Another absolute keep. This is the Melt Gemini 2. I just got this, and hopefully there's a video coming soon. I don't know what order of operations everything's going up in, but this is what this color story looks like. It's got these really pretty kind of like rosewoody and really dark burgundy shades, this beautiful smoky metallic, and then some really nice greens. I like actually that the two metallics in here are super deep. I know some people were wishing there was like a lighter metallic, but I feel like lighter metallic shades show up in literally every palette. It's these like really deep ones that I think make a beautiful smoky eye, so I'm definitely happy to have this one. Can you guys hear the kids outside? I don't know whose kids they are, but they're not mine. Alright, so this is the Nomad Orient Express. I actually won this palette from Nomad Cosmetics, and it looks like this. I love the velvety packaging. The color story sometimes like stumps me a little bit, but the shimmers in here are so pretty that I just can't, like, I'm not ready to let this one go. Like you can see, they just have like this beautiful green to red duochrome, this kind of bluey purple shade, this kind of pinky orange shade. I mean, they're really pretty, so definitely going to be hanging on to that. Alright, and we'll talk about Tartelette in Bloom. This was the palette that I took on my honeymoon when I went to Punta Cana with my husband, and it just has a lot of really good memories for me. It still smells like vanilla, so I'm gonna definitely keep it. I would love to use this palette again and get into these like grungier shades, because when I was first getting into makeup I was really afraid of like dark shades like that, so I tended to stick to like this kind of shade at the darkest. But now that I feel more comfortable handling these shades, I'm like, I need to get back into this palette and see what I can do with those, because they are very smoky. Limoncello from ColourPop. This is actually one of the palettes that my husband really loves when I wear, because he tends to like the really soft, neutral kind of looks. He does not, he's not in love with the super bright, vibrant stuff that I do all the time, but that's okay. I don't do it for him. But these colors I really like. They have just enough warmth to look like really nice on the eyes without being so warm that it's like orange. I really love the metallics that they put in here. This one has this really pretty like orange to gold flip to it, and this yellow is really pretty and soft, so definitely gonna hang on to that one. The original Soul Main palette from Odin's Eye. The packaging on their palettes is just like, shut up, it's so pretty. This is what the inside color story looks like. I did order the new one, and so I'm really excited to see when that comes. So let me just see. This is the shade I was the most disappointed with, because it doesn't really, like, look, it doesn't show up. I don't know if it's like hard panned or if it's just my shade, but like the other ones show up so beautifully. Like, look at that. Those are gorgeous. Let me see if I can wipe that off with a spoolie and see if it works any better for me. Okay, so I aggressively scrubbed it with a spoolie brush, and it seems to have helped a little bit. Like, I get a little bit more true to pigment, but I'm not obsessed with that. I don't know. I really like that shade, but I feel like I probably have enough other stuff in my collection to kind of mimic this shade. I don't know, that's really pretty. Ooh, it has like a duochrome sparkle in it too. I didn't realize that before. Okay, we'll put that in a maybe pile. And okay, up next, the original OG Naked palette. I don't know what possessed me to pick this up, really, because I don't think I probably needed it, but I just was like on a mission to get it, and it went half price at one point, so I picked it up. I'll hang on to it because it definitely leans a little bit more cool tone, which I appreciate, but yeah, I definitely should use it more for how much I still paid for it. This is the Urban Decay Honey palette, and this my mom got me, which thank you so much, Mom, if you ever watch this. She probably won't though, because she's not a big makeup person herself, but I really like this palette. This like kind of green toned gold shade here just really sends me. Every time I use this palette I end up using this shade because I think it's so pretty, but I do really like this. Kind of reminds me of the limoncello in the like undertone, so gonna hang on to that one. Alright, I've got a couple of these Revolution palettes. Let's talk about these next. These are the Revolution Pro palettes, and they were supposed to be originally dupes for the Pat McGrath like big palettes, but then I think they just kind of started ad-libbing, so I don't think all of these necessarily have a dupe, but this one, oh, and I hate the fact that the shade names are on this stupid plastic. I hate that. This is what this one looks like. This shade is definitely, and this shade is definitely like more of a special shade. These other ones are more just like metallics with sparkles put in them, but I do think the quality of these is nice for baked eyeshadows, so I'm going to be hanging on to these. And I'll show you the other one. This one kind of reminds me of the bronze palette too, from Natasha Denona, and I'm a sucker for these shades. These pink to gold duochrome shades, like, I probably have about 55 of these in my collection, and I literally just ordered one last night on ColourPop's website, so cannot be stopped. This is the Nude on Nude, and I think this one is a really nice analog to the ABH Modern Renaissance palette, but I think this one stays a little bit more mauve-y, because that one throws in some pops of more neutral and orange shades, but I like that this one doesn't do that, so happy to keep that one as well. My Sweet Peach palette. I had to fight tooth and nail to pick up this dumb palette, and then it was around for ages. See, look, here's another one. Pink to gold duochrome. Still smells like peaches too, which is nice. I'm definitely going to hang on to this one because it's definitely like a good memory for me, and I really do enjoy this color story, so we'll be hanging on to that. And then the original chocolate bar palette I'll hang on to as well. This is the first like big girl palette I ever purchased. And this is probably the closest I'll ever come to getting a pan. Because I loved that shade so much. But yeah, I'm going to hang on to this. It still smells like chocolate, which I love. So that's a keep. This is the BH Sweet Shop Sugar Cone palette. This is the last one that I picked up out of this collection because I really was like, I don't need it. And then when I saw how amazing the other ones were, I was like, I'll just get it because they're like, I'm a completionist, I guess. But the actual like shimmer formula in here is so pretty, like stunning. So I'll definitely be hanging on to that. Nomad America's Parks palette. I'm very hesitant to get rid of any of my Nomad palettes because I really have been enjoying collecting them. This one is really cool because some of these shimmers have like a really cool duochrome flip to them. For example, this one here has this like silvery gold, but then there's sort of like a purple that runs through it. It's really, really pretty. Let me see if I can swatch it out there for you. You can kind of see. But yeah, really pretty. So I think they took like sort of the basic like green and brown color story and gave it a bit of a twist, which I appreciate. So I'll be hanging on to that one. Oh goodness. So many, so many, so many. All right, so this is the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette, which I've had around for ages. Still smells like peaches though, which is great. But I think I have similar shades in the Melt Gemini palette, so I think I'm going to let this one go as well, because I just don't need two of kind of the same thing for that. Clearly I need two of the same thing for pretty much everything else though. Alright, the Nomad by Juvia's Place looks like this. I think I've only actually used this once, but this is the color that like really spoke to me, this super dark shade. But I have another palette that I think will be kind of similar in that perspective, so I may declutter this one. I got it on clearance. So we'll put that in the maybe pile, and then I can swatch it next to the other one that I had, and we'll see if it's close enough that I can get rid of that one. The Warrior by Juvia's Place. I originally picked this up hopes that I would not pick up the Naked Honey palette, and I ended up getting the Naked Honey palette as a gift. So I don't need two of basically the same color story for this, so this one I'm going to go ahead and declutter. The Nubian by Juvia's Place looks like this. This one has some really pretty colors, like this blue and this super dark green I think are really pretty. Oh, still so buttery. Wow, yeah, look at that. And that's kind of like a purple eggplant color. And that blue is pretty too. I'll see. If I have something that kind of mimics those three shades, I may let this one go as well, so we'll put that in the maybe pile. Alright, Pat Mcgrath I've delayed for long enough. I picked this up because when I went and got my new job, which was like a year and a half ago at this point, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to wear like all kinds of fun makeup, and I wanted something kind of professional. I had never tried Pat Mcgrath's formula, so I went ahead and picked this one up. But it's very like basic. Like it's not super impressive. It just is nice. So I kind of feel like disappointed that I spent money on Pat Mcgrath to just get like okay shades. Like I feel like I could get that from ColourPop, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of like, I don't really think I'm going to use this, but do I want to get rid of it because it was so expensive? I just don't think I'm going to use it, so I may pass this one on too. That's weird. I didn't think I was going to declutter anything Pat Mcgrath, but here we are. Alright, this is the Disney Mulan palette, and I really like this one too. I think this is the start of when they started doing some more cool tone shades and kind of testing the waters with that. There are some pressed glitters in here. Allegedly they're small enough to be eye safe though, so I don't mind that too much. I think the color story is really nice, so definitely going to hang on to that one. And then Odin's Eye, the Red Dragon Judy palette. I almost didn't pick this up, but I'm so happy that I did because the color story is really, really pretty. And I love that you've got like some really deep shades here. It's not just like all browns. You definitely pull a little bit more red, and then there's some pops of green in here. So I'm going to hang on to this one for sure. And then Makeup Geek and Manny MUA palette. Oh my god, this is like 100 years old, but it's still works really nicely. It's still nice and soft, so I'm going to hang on to it for a little bit longer. Like, I know that's not that popular, like a rare of a shade, but it looks so pretty. Definitely hanging on to that one. Like, look at that. Look at that quality. Let's put that in the declutter pile. This is the Nabla Poison Garden palette. I've really enjoyed collecting a lot of the Nabla palettes too. Oh my god, magnet on this is ridiculous. Okay, and it looks like this. I really like this shade here. It's this iridescent, like, blue violet kind of a shade. Very, very pretty. I do think the other shades in this palette are pretty. I don't always know what to do with this palette all by itself, but I do think you can do some cool stuff with it, so I'm going to hang on to it. And then I have the Nabla Secret palette, which looks like this. I picked this one up half price, and I was so happy I got to do that. I love the way that they have this organized. I kind of don't use these bottom 2 rows, but I think the top 2 rows make a really beautiful color story even of themselves. So I kind of skip everything except the black in the bottom, but that's pretty much the color story I work with, and I really like it, so I'll hang on to that too. And then last but not least, Too Faced Natural Lust. I went back and forth on this palette so many times because I'm like, do I really need to keep it? Could I let it go to somebody else? I'm not sure. The color story in this is so pretty, and I feel like it does have some really beautiful shimmers in it. So I think I'm going to hang on to this one for a little while longer. Plus, like, look at this packaging. So pretty. Okay. And that's all of my nude palettes. Let me get back to this maybe pile. This one I need to swatch some other stuff and see if I can find some duplicates for those 3 shades. But I think Solman I'm going to let go. And Nomad by Juvia's I'm going to let go. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go. And stay tuned because the rest of my collection is coming very, very soon. Bye guys.